Distinguished guests and fellow colleagues, welcome to the Center for Livable Cities and Seoul Institute panel of Age-Friendly Cities, a co-located event of the World City Summit 2018. I'm Mercy from the Center for Livable Cities, and I will be your MC for today. The CLC was jointly established by the Ministry of National Development and the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources in 2008 to distill, create, and share knowledge on livable and sustainable cities. So today's event is part of the CLC lecture series, which is one of our platforms through which urban thought leaders share best practices and exchange ideas and experience. Today's event is jointly organized with our collaborative research partner, the Seoul Institute. The Seoul Institute is the urban research think tank of the Seoul Metropolitan Government. The Institute's primary objective is to improve municipal administration through professional research, improve the quality of life in Seoul, and reinforce and sustain the competitiveness in Seoul. CLC is working with SI on a joint research project on age-friendly cities, and so we have this panel discussion today as part of the joint research process and aims to provide a platform for other cities to share their experiences in planning for an aging population. So we are very honored to have with us today distinguished speakers from New Taipei City, Seoul, Singapore, and Japan. Now, before we begin the lecture, CLC and SI will be renewing our Memorandum of Understanding today, and I would like to invite Mr. Koo Ting Chai, Executive Director of the Center for Livable Cities, to give some opening remarks. Mr. Koo, please.
Thank you very much. Just a few short remarks before we sign the MOU. I think, firstly, to all our friends from Seoul, again, warmest congratulations for winning the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize. I think it's a well-deserved. So let's give them a round of applause. I think the CLC and the Seoul Institute have been collaborating for a while. I think Seoul is really an amazing city. It's a mega city, 10 million people. Singapore, we are kind of about half the size, 5 million. Yet, I think, like what we've heard throughout these 2 or 3 days, most cities, big or small, all kind of share the same kind of problems. So we thought, when the opportunity arose, we had the opportunity to collaborate with the Seoul Institute. It's been a very wonderful collaboration. It's a very talented organization with, I think, many, many talented researchers. And we know the mayor of Seoul, Park, make use of the Seoul Institute to test out some of his interesting ideas, and the Seoul researchers work very hard to make some of this happen. So we've had 2 projects with the Seoul Institute. The first was on mobility. When I first visited Seoul, I think around the turn of the century, that's kind of almost 20 years ago, it was a city that was almost choking because of its fantastic growth. It was very difficult to move on the roads. But when I revisited the city kind of 12, 13 years later, at the beginning of our collaboration, it's transformed. The city has changed remarkably. Now it's, you have bicycles, you can walk easily. What was the most amazing turnaround, I think, for the city was that they tore down a highway that plunged right through the heart of the city. They had the courage to pull down that highway and restore the stream that used to be underneath the highway. And that's the famous Cheonggae Stream project that I think a lot of us have seen. It's become a fantastic place for both Korean residents as well as tourists and so on. But of course, there's been many other things that's going on. But I think the thing that struck me most about what the Mayor Park said at his lecture yesterday is that Seoul has moved away from focusing on construction and constructed landmarks to really trying to get to the soul of a city. And I think that's really what this third project that we are doing with the Seoul Institute, and which is the subject of today's discussion, is all about. It's really about cities which are friendly to people of all ages, right? People above 65, I'm one of those. Singapore and Seoul, we share common problems, maybe other Asian cities too. We are aging very rapidly, and so this is an issue that all of us, many of us, are grappling with, and so I think it's a very important topic for us to discuss. So I think I'd really like to thank the President of Seoul Institute for the wonderful collaboration we've had, and look forward to more fruitful and valuable collaboration with the renewal of the MOU. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Koo. And next, I would like to invite Dr. So, President of the Seoul Institute, to say a few words. Dr. So, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Koo Teng Chai, Dr. Eric Liuan Chu, Dr. Emi Kiyota, Dr. Belinda Yuen, Dr. Miri Byun, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Seoul Institute, I would like to thank the WCS staff for their dedication and hard work in organizing this event. I am happy to see that our collaborative research with Center for Livable Cities is making a good progress. This is our third joint study, and I am pleased to see our work together is continuing to find creative solutions to problems in Singapore and Seoul. It is my hope that our meaningful relationship extend into the future. Today, we will discuss timely and very important topics, issues with aging and making our cities more age-friendly. It is more than appropriate to share aging problems with decision makers and scholars from major Asian cities. As we know, there are commonalities in the range of problems in the megacities in Asia, arising from high population density. We all know what has happened in Japan. An aging society, even in the 1970s, Japan is now a super aged society from early 21st century. Throughout the years, the nation has initiated a variety of policies for seniors. Taiwan, Singapore, and Korea, compared to Japan, are relatively young. But we are growing old too, at the verge of becoming aged society from aging ones. We are on a similar trajectory, with about 14% of total populations older than 65. Korea will be a super aged society in 2026, less than 10 years from now. In my country, it is usually the case that what is a problem in Korea is a very serious problem in Seoul. It is more than true in aging issue. Many senior citizens in Seoul are not ready to live in an aging society, either physically or financially. Many live alone. Many need jobs to make ends meet. It is often very difficult to find job opportunities. Aging is a critical problem in Seoul and in Korea as a whole. The unique feature of population aging in Asia is its incredible speed. It is true that cities in Western nations are also growing old, but our cities are doing so at a much faster pace, which means we don't have much time to prepare. But there is a bright side. Over the years, many Asian cities have introduced comprehensive policies to handle the issue, making improvement to infrastructure, welfare programs, and senior healthcare services. It will be of undeniable benefit to share what we have been doing in each city represented here and learn from each other. I mentioned that what is problem in Korea tend to be very serious problem in Seoul. On the other hand, it is Seoul that usually comes up with the most innovative solutions that can benefit the whole country. In terms of aging, however, this has not yet happened. Today's event is part of the process of finding solutions to population aging in Seoul and Korea. So we are here to learn. I would like to again express my appreciation to the WCS staff for hosting an important event like this. I hope we may find clues to new ways forward in this crucial problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. So. May I now invite Dr. So and Mr. Koo for the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding, please. This is the second MOU between CLC and the Seoul Institute. The first MOU was entered in WCS 2016, and 2 joint research projects have been completed by both CLC and SI since then, namely Walkable and Bikeable Cities in 2016 and Planning for Communities in 2017. CLC looks forward to working even more closely with SI in future. Thank you, Dr. So and Mr. Koo. So today's panel session on age-friendly cities is part of CLC and SI's ongoing collaboration to study Singapore and Seoul's experience in planning for an aging society. To share with you more about this topic, we have Dr. Yi, Director of the Seoul Institute, and Guan Hong, Manager of the Center for Livable Cities, who will give a joint presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Guan Hong, and this is Dr. Yi. We'll just do a very short introduction of the Singapore and Seoul aging context, really to kickstart the presentation. So firstly, from my end, really we're going to talk about age-friendly cities today, and I think as Mr. Koo and Dr. Saw has already presented, the aging is a very challenging issue, and we're talking about 2 global trends of urbanization and aging at the same time. And we're looking at 500 million of the world's urbanites as older people, and people over 60 are actually the fastest growing cohort of urban population.
So Asian cities have a lot in common because of their high population densities, and aging phenomenon is not an exception. If you see this graph here, we have Singapore here. The proportion of population aged 65 and above is increasing, and other nations, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, South Korea, has same trends. Bit of statistics. Seoul has population of 9.8 million on a land of 600 square kilometer, and Singapore is a little better off with a smaller number of population on a larger land of more than 700 square meter. But in terms of aging population, it's strikingly similar, at the verge of aging society to aged society.
So as Dr. Yi mentioned, we're about 14.4% of our population that are age 65 and above. And if you can see the graph a bit there, the citizens aged 20 to 64, which is the working age population, is actually declining. And the number of seniors who will be age 65 and above will nearly double. So this is really the trend that Singapore is experiencing in the next couple of years. And we'll just share some trends and challenges. I'm sure the audience is really familiar with the situation in Singapore. So one of the bigger trends is really how seniors are becoming more well-educated. We're having a big change in profile in terms of our seniors. So a projected 7% of them are actually having post-secondary education. And this will change the kind of aspirations and the kind of social programming we're catering for them. Seniors are also living longer, but also staying healthy for longer, and that will change some of our approach. Aging is really not a problem, but really an opportunity, and how we can tap on our seniors and engage them further is really the next phase. But also, there are some challenges. More seniors are really living alone. We're seeing that rising trend. A projected 83,000 seniors will be living alone by 2030. But it's not really just the whole idea of social isolation. It's also the perceived loneliness that some seniors may feel. And I'm sure there are some studies done that it's not just seniors who are living alone that feel lonely. Seniors who are staying with their family members experience that as well. And so the increasing needs of our seniors, not just loneliness, but the whole idea of dementia as well is a critical issue. So 1 in 10 aged 60 and above already have dementia. So this is one ongoing problem or one ongoing challenge that we have to kind of think about when we think about age-friendly, but also dementia-friendly city.
So I guess Singapore has some problems there, but Seoul has its own too. For example, the most serious problem in terms of elderly in Korea is poverty. About 50% of elderly population in Korea is in poverty, and that's the highest among the OECD countries. And they feel that they need to prepare more, and they feel that they are not prepared at this point to face an aging society financially and physically. And they feel, many of them feel that they need to prepare to enhance job skills for aging society. So one of the unique features in Korea in terms of retirement is that retirement age is getting lower for most professionals in Seoul. Many people retire at 50s from corporation or large firms. So, but in fact, they can really retire at 70s. You know? So they need to work 20 years more to make ends meet.
So really, to frame today's discussion, we thought we'll adapt a definition from the World Health Organization about age-friendly cities. So the whole idea, really, the definition, I won't read it out, but there are very key ideas that we want to capture, which is it's about the structures and the services. It's about taking that systems approach to planning for an age-friendly city. It is about being accessible and inclusive. I think earlier on that was mentioned. About being accessible and inclusive to seniors of varying needs. It's not taking them as an homogeneous group, not just all above 65, but really to understand how can we really look at this problem holistically. And so to do that, we thought we'll take out two themes. They are really quite relevant to both Singapore and Seoul that will frame some of the cases that we'll share in just a minute. So the two ideas is really how to better age in place and also how to encourage active aging.
So let's talk about what we have been doing in Seoul. Seoul Metropolitan Government drafted its first age-friendly Seoul Master Plan in 2012. And it was drafted based on WHO age-friendly city guideline. Guidelines suggest, well, emphasizes, the elderly population should have opportunities for social participation. Their transportation needs or housing problem should be solved. And based on those principles, Seoul selected 6 principles to guide its action plan for the future. So about WHO Age-Friendly Master Plan, it is about really active aging and aging in place and intergenerational solidarity. Active aging is having autonomy and independence in their lives. Aging in place is about growing old in their communities. So Seoul age-friendly master plan focuses on 6 principles from age-friendly environment, leisure and culture, some opportunities for employment and respect with communication with the younger generations. But we added one more principle, which was not a part of WHO guideline, which was to support for baby boomers to be proactive in aging problem in Seoul and Korea. So let me present one example each, policy example each for 2 principles. So support for baby boomer will be about active aging and age-friendly environment is about housing problem, which was the core of aging in place principle. So one case is Borin community housing. So if you look at this diagram, Seoul Metropolitan Government and Seoul Housing Corporation, they put up a RFP for senior housing. So then private developers, many of them apply for the project. And Seoul Housing Corporation, SH, they set up the standard for senior-friendly housing. And local district government, GU, together with the Seoul city government, they select appropriate firm to conduct the project. And after completion of the housing, they're paid off by the public sector. And then the management responsibility is upon local district government. So it has many of senior-friendly design features, such as community space, barrier-free design with emergency call system in place. Well, with many community space like rooftop garden, and local district government try to ensure that the residents are benefited from many of the community programs. Sometimes, working with communities around. The other example is about 50+ program, one of the principles that we added in our age-friendly master plan to realize active aging principle. So here, Seoul took kind of proactive approach towards aging, considering our unique context of aging in Seoul. People retire early. So in Korea, senior citizens, they receive their public pension from 65. So say if you retire at 53, then there is a many years gap that you don't have income. So that's a problem, It's not a problem, maybe not be a problem of aging, but it is a problem. So Seoul Metropolitan Government took an innovative approach of 50+ program, because 50-something, they can still contribute to society, but they also have demands for public support after their early retirement. And it is the largest population cohort in Seoul, about 23%. So we felt that we need to do something about that. So the basic premise of 50+ is that, viewing 50+ generation, early retired 50-something, as resources, not problems. And it has 3 dimensions. One is policy. The city government provided customized programs for 50+. Second one is social. With partnership with NGOs, it is intended to create new culture for 50+ retired. The third one is to encourage 50+ retired to find a new meaning of lives while trying to find job opportunities. So 50+ is really about total care system composed of consulting, providing educational courses, and providing opportunities for community activities and jobs. And those programs are provided, customized for 50+, step by step. We have a few campuses in Seoul. So when CLC and HDB URA research team, they visited Seoul and we kind of introduced this campus. I didn't tell them that this is the nicest one, but we have a few in Seoul and trying to have more.
Thank you, Dr. Yi. So I would also like to share a little bit about Singapore's aging population and some of our case studies. Actually, the whole idea of the whole thinking behind aging in Singapore didn't really just start. It was all the way in 1980s that we already started thinking about an aging population. Then Minister Hau Yun Chong already talked about how we needed to think about the problem of aging, even though then we were still a very young nation. But today we really have it accumulated. We also released an action plan for successful aging back in 2012, and it's really a comprehensive approach. It was also jointly developed with our government agencies, our grassroots, our businesses, our academia, the non-profit organizations, and so on and so forth. Of course, with consultation from our elders as well. And that holistic approach can be seen. You see the action plan looking at the individual level, opportunities for all ages, covering areas such as learning, workplace, longevity, learning opportunities, volunteerism. It's also at the community level, the whole idea of a kampong, which is a village for all ages, talking about protection for vulnerable elderly or social inclusion. And also at the national level, designing a city for all ages. We're talking about our healthcare, our aged care, senior-friendly transport, urban planning and housing, and so on and so forth. So it's 70 initiatives across 12 areas. And you can pick one book up on your way out as well. And that approach really is permeated throughout our urban planning. So for example, the integrated development by 7 different agencies, Kampong Admiralty, I'm sure a lot of us have heard about it, really an integrated development looking at how to bring together all the different services, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, social care for the seniors. So this is really one step in the right direction to really bring together an integrated system for our seniors. And so this covers the area of aging in place. How do we encourage or enable our seniors to age in a very friendly environment and familiar environment? And when we talk about active aging, when we talk about aging well, it's also about their wellness. So we have some initiatives such as the Wellness Program or the Wellness Kampong, which are initiatives and pilots really looking at how to bring together social and wellness, how to reach out to our seniors through health screening, through social programs, and regular participation and activating seniors as resources. And last but not least, I'd like to round up our presentation by talking about community networks for seniors. This is an up-and-coming initiative, really a nationwide initiative looking at how to tap on our community-based program and support and create that support system for an aging population. And we're really looking at the ABCs. So how do we help seniors who actively age, help them in the environment, and how to befriend seniors who are at risk of social isolation, experiencing loneliness, and C, care coordination for our seniors using community resources. And as you can see, how it works is really to touch, to help, and to hold. So for the touch is really activating or tapping on our senior generation ambassadors to really reach out and touch seniors who are in need and really to help them. And to identify these seniors within the community and how we help. So Ministry of Health and Agency for Integrated Care will really look at integrating care services, aged care services, and care coordination to help the seniors, and whole using our community partners in the system already integrated within the community to really hold our seniors and keep an eye out for them if they're vulnerable or in need. And so these are just some examples of how we are tackling the aging issue in Singapore from CLC and SI on Singapore and Seoul. And now we'd like to pass the time on to hear more about New Taipei City. Thank you.
Okay, moving on from Seoul and Singapore, we are now honored to have the Mayor of New Taipei City, Dr. Eric Chu, here with us to share how his city is also addressing the challenge of an aging population. Mayor Chu serves as the first and incumbent mayor of New Taipei City since the city was upgraded and reorganized from its former entity Taipei County in 2010. Mayor Chu and his administration have put forth transformative and innovative policies to build a city that can cope with the urban challenges of the modern age. So let us welcome Mayor Chu on stage, please.
Thank you, everyone. Supposedly, I should be on the plane back to Taipei, back to Taiwan. Because of the typhoon hitting Taiwan now, hitting my city, I changed my plan this morning and should be on the plane back to Taiwan this noon. So I canceled this speech this afternoon, asked my staff to replace me to talk to you about the new Taipei City. But I don't know why all the airliners decide to cancel the flights, including all the carriers, Singapore Airlines, China Airlines, EVA. So I have to now wait. And I was waiting in the airport for 2 hours. And finally, I don't think I should sleep there and I should come back. Thank you. Let me give you a very briefing about my city. As the lady just introduced to you, New Taipei City, it was Taipei County. Now New Taipei City is the largest metropolitan in Taiwan with population. Actually, we call residents, more than 5 million people live in our city. Registered citizen is about 4 million in my city. So it's a big metropolitan. I wanted to share with you my experience. 17 years ago, I was the mayor of Taoyuan for 8 years, since 17 years ago to 9 years ago. Taoyuan, International Airport is also a big city with population of 2 million. When I was the mayor of Taoyuan, all the topics I introduced or I mentioned to my friends is how to create jobs for younger generation, how to solve the youth problem or children's take care issues. I don't know why, 17 years after today, I would discuss all of you together about the aging problem for senior citizens. Because of my age or because of the same problem happened to our metro, like Seoul, like Singapore, or like other cities in Asia. You can see the demography of our city. 17 years ago, I don't use 17 years ago, just 2008, the senior population ratio, the age above 65, it was 6.2%. And today, it's 12.6%. I have to remind my staff again. I don't think the size is good for aging people. We all have presbyopia, which means we all have reading problem. So the size should be bigger, it'll be larger. So 6.2% about 20 years ago, then to 12.6%, double the size. So just as Korean saw, we expect 2026, so 8 years from now, will be double again, 25%. Will be super old city in Taiwan, in New Taipei. So we all face the same challenge today, and we have to deal with all the problem regarding to aging. So a few years ago, we paid little attention about the road, as Dr. Koo said, and today it's very important. It's walkable, movable for the aging people. Every, public infrastructure, the number one should be smooth, walkable, and movable. Mobility is very important. For example, educational department. 10 years ago, we mentioned about the size of the school for students. Now we will say, how about to use the space for adult education, for elder people to join school again? How to provide some courses for those elders? That's a new challenge for us. For our labor department, a few years ago, we discuss mainly for younger generation to find the first job. Today, we are trying to persuade most of the company to provide those senior one, we call brown hair or silver age, to have their new career, new job in these companies. So it's different issues. That's the government. How about the private section? I think more and more private sectors, they pay more attention about aging issues. So I think it's quite important for my administration as the first mayor in New Taipei. 7 or 8 years ago, when I was elected, I promised to the people, say we have to create a new platform between the public and the private to initiate a lot of programs. They may spend very little physical money, public funds, and provide a lot of service to those elders. It's quite easy to provide a lot of free service to those elders, just like we have free buses for elders. We provide a lot of social housing for seniors. That's all money from public. We do need some from private. The first one I want to introduce to you is how to, provide our elders mobility and physical functionality. Second one is social connectivity, and third one is how to persuade those elders to contribute to our society. They are needed. Okay, regarding to the mobility and the physical functionalities, the first one, when a day I watch TV, I learned from the Northern Europe countries. They said, you Asian people always have a lot of medicine, but we European senior just use exercise to replace medicine. A doctor said, exercise actually is medicine. When I read this sentence, I found it's true. Exercise is medicine. And I Google everything. Okay, I found a lot of developed countries, they provide a program called Fit for Age. So I think it's good for my city. Fit for Age, it means how to persuade, how to encourage or induce all my senior citizens go to exercise, to, for your muscle, for your health, for your strength, please exercise. So free exercise in our sports center, all the park, everywhere. The government can get a lot of private sector to donate those facilities for those elders to exercise. They come out to exercise, and the only thing we develop an app to record everything. Then the medical doctor will base on what's the scenario of your health and how about your exercise to decide what's the next one you should do. And we also train a lot of volunteers to be the coach, to teach those seniors how to exercise, how to help to improve your health. So today, about more than 400,000 senior citizens join the program. We spent very little public money, budget for this program, but we induce more than 400,000 senior citizens in New Taipei to join us. The second one is free, you say free again, free reading glasses. I tell you, no public funds, no budget. I persuade all the eye doctors and the glasses companies. I said, a business for you, but not in the short run, in the long run. You know, a lot of senior citizens, they never go to any hospital or any clinic to check their eyes. Even for the reading glasses, they ignore it. They don't know what's the really problem of their eyes because of the age. The only thing we can do is give them some incentive. I can ask my friends or some private sectors donate a little money and please those eye doctors and those glasses companies provide part of the service freely for those senior citizens. At the beginning, they say, it's not good business for us. I said, if those senior citizens come to your clinic, come to your hospital, come to the glasses store once, they will come back again. They will know the eyes are so important for them. So we provide free glasses for the senior citizen the first time. Okay, you know, just in a few months, about half of the senior citizens checked their eyes and found a lot of problems. Then we provide the glasses, but also provide the new opportunity for their sizing about their health. Okay? Only complaints from some grandpa says, finally the grandma can see them clearly. That's the biggest problem. As a mayor, I cannot solve the problem, okay? So, and you see this picture I present this morning. I said this, about 90 years, 80 years, grandpa, grandma, they are very, you know, fashion and style with the new glasses. They are so happy. Okay, so the second initiative we have is free reading glasses. We don't need this one, next one. Okay. Show you, yeah, go ahead. Keep going. The computer has some aging problem. This commercial is from our government, and we did ourselves, by myself, and try to allure those seniors to have this fashion glasses. Okay, the second one is about the same issue as you mentioned, the connectivities. We together, okay? Eat together, exercise together, have fun together. But at the beginning, we think eat together is very important. As a senior citizen, after 65, I think it's so difficult to eat alone or only eat with your spouse. So we are trying to create some platform. I said, all from your cost or from a lot of public donation. So this 900 spots, 900 sites already in New Taipei every day, or once or twice a week, we provide this kind of dining together program. Dining together, you can share the foods together, you can make new friends together, you can exchange your experience, you exchange your ideas together. So it's a very good social connectivities, joint dining for the seniors. No budget, zero budget from government, all private donation. We create only initiatives. Okay, next one is about capability to contribute. We found the senior citizens, they need health, they need connection, they also need some respect or contribution. They need to be needed, which means how to create a platform for those senior citizens to be needed. How about as a landlord? You know, senior citizens, when their children, you know, leave the home, house, and live abroad or somewhere else, the empty rooms, why don't you provide those young generation have a budget, rent, very low cost, and to live together, then you have some younger generation to share experience, to company together. So we found this program is very good. How to do it? Not only to persuade those senior citizens, we create a lot of role models for those social housing, for senior citizens who need some house, we mixed with the younger generation together. So we call how to cross-generation housing. In Singapore, I think you are doing the same program. The final one is time banking, which means senior citizens, they all worry about someday I will be alone, I need some help. Of course, you can have professional social workers to help you, but it costs you a lot of money, maybe. So why don't you provide service to the other senior one who needs the service? So we provide personal time account for each one who are volunteer and to be trained by professional for 40 hours. Then you will be the one to be assigned to serve for the senior citizens. Then someday, your time account, count these hours, you can get the same feedback. You can, withdraw your time to get all the service from the other generation's senior citizens. So this time banking's volunteers, today, more than 2,000, about 2,500 already volunteers joined us. If you don't want to provide the service for the senior citizens, it's also okay. You are professor before, you were professor before, you were doctor before, you were, some professional before. Provide the service to the society. So we also create the channels, create the platform for those volunteers. Every department, every district government in my city create a lot of channels for those senior citizens to join us as volunteers. Today, totally, there are about 120,000 volunteers in my city. Most of them are senior citizens. I think that is very important for senior citizens, found they are needed. They have contribution to the society. So today, I focus mainly on those platforms in my city, public and private partnership. Government is a bridge mainly to those services. We don't have to spend too much money or even none from the budget, we can provide all the service for the seniors. This is the case. We say seniors can be designers. Okay? This is senior designers. The next one. What's the next one? Okay. It's a daycare center for every district, and the caregivers support. This is also volunteers. They provide this kind of service for senior citizens. Next. So, I think the communities with endless love, with unlimited sources, we can have all kinds of service from the private sectors. The only thing is whether the government can provide a good channels or good platform for those love, for those resources. As the first mayor of New Taipei City, this is my 8th year. And thank you so much for all your attention. I think Taiwan has a similar problem as Korea and as Singapore, as the rest of the world, especially in Asia. Hopefully we can exchange our experience, and someday when we are aging, we will be healthy, we will be whole, and we will have a happy new life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Chu, for that engaging presentation. Next up, we have Dr. Emmy Kiyota, President of Ibasho and CLC Visiting Fellow. Dr. Kiyota will be setting the stage for the panel discussion by sharing some insights about age-friendly cities based on her work. Emmy is an environmental gerontologist and focuses on improving both the physical environment and the organizational culture of long-term care for elders. She founded Ibasho in 2010, a non-profit organization dedicated to creating socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable communities that value their elders. May I invite Dr. Kiyota on stage, please?
I was very encouraged by learning about the city initiatives and policies that has been implemented in different cities. Because I started 20 years ago talking about the same thing, an age-friendly city, empowerment of elders. 20 years ago, people weren't ready to even discuss about all these things. But it was such an encouragement to hear what's happening in Asia. For my presentation, I actually would like to bring your attention into more like a person's perspective rather than policy's perspective. Because my background is actually in architecture and urban planning. So I'm looking at the policies and age-friendly from built environment perspective most of the time. So we talked a lot about speed of aging, of course, and I wanted to show you the graph. Sorry that I forgot to put Singapore into this one for some reason. So what this means is that, I think it's the light. So it took, France actually took almost 100 years to get to the population over 65 at 7%, up to the 14%. And when you think about Japan, it started later, but it's very fast. But when you look at it, this area, Brazil, South America, and Asia are aging very fast. So, it just takes very much, sorry about that. Okay. So this graph basically shows you how fast Asian countries are aging, actually. It's not only Taipei, it is not only Seoul. In general, it's very, very fast. And again, the problem is we are not prepared. That's the problem. So this is a very simple statistics from OECD. We have, this is Asia Pacific, we have quite a high population, percentage of older 65, but so far in Asia's Oceania area, we didn't really spend much money on this. So this is another simple statistics. This is like to show you that dependency ratio. So we have a window of opportunity, the dependency ratio, just before the dependency ratio is going to go up. But we only have few years left, and we have to be facing all this, the increase of dependency, basically. So why I wanted to show you this statistics is that if we were to try to think about the solution for aging with current policy and try to change the policy and tweak it, it is not going to work out. So we really have to rethink about and reimagine how we can actually approach it. Do I have answer? No. But I wanted to actually throw that idea to all of you, because a lot of time we think if we were to make this better, this aging problem is going to be better. It could be, but it is really not solving a problem. So this is my question. Is aging a problem? How can you answer? Raise your hand if you think aging a problem. One person? So I always have to start with this. Aging is really not a disease, but a lot of time we treat aging as medical problem because, just so far what we have done is to provide diagnosis to the older population, like dementia this and hypertension this and that. But that is a biological aging, but aging itself is not a disease. Again, I talked about this morning. Once the day you were born, your aging starts. You celebrate somehow the birthday, giving all these presents to this baby who has no idea what that is. And they just enjoy the boxes, basically. You still bring a cake, celebrate them, yet somehow 85 years birthday, you don't celebrate them because it is just try to be like, I think we think about the positive way into the negative way. So, but aging does become a problem if society doesn't accept, and also the physical environment won't accommodate their changing needs. So aging itself is not a problem. So what is the challenges of the city? I'm just kind of quickly wrap up this one. So this is based on the literature that was available. I'm still working on this, but it is a very similar themes comes up. Changing pattern of spatial use in the city is a problem because they're very highly congested and there's a lot of traffic and pedestrian crossing times can be difficult. Those are really a challenge when you get older to live in the city. And exclusion from organization and institutions, that means that you go to certain places, you kind of have a strange feeling that you're not accepted because you're an older person. Social isolations are the problem. I used to live in Japan for about 6 years, and I have no interest living in Tokyo any longer because, one day I was walking toward a train station, Shinjuku train station, which was a huge area, and it was millions of people coming at me, and one thing hit me and said, oh my gosh, I have all these millions of people around me, but I don't know anyone, and I feel so lonely. I think the city, a lot of times people think that if you are surrounded by people, you're no longer lonely, but it is not. It's just if you don't have relationship, you are still lonely. And aging issue is a poverty issue, especially in the cities. And adequate housing is just not there. We are talking about 80%, 13%, 15% in Singapore and Taiwan and Seoul. Japan's case, 20-some%. Those percentage of the house has to be accessible and appropriate for aging, but we don't have that stock in the city at this moment. And the safety and fear of crime is a problem in the city. So the solutions that people are talking about is resources to maintain health and live independently. This is very similar to what aging place you guys were talking about. To do that, economic securities, affordable housing, adequate transportation, participation in community life. Those are the ones that makes your life more independent and opportunity to meaningful employment and civic participations. And affordable long-term care services are very, very important. I think the age-friendly city, I will just repeat this later. I will revisit. But lots of time, age-friendly city initiative, they only address the people who are healthy. But unfortunately, we have few years of not healthy time. And how are we going to deal with that area? Until we really have a clearer idea about frailty part, we cannot really solve any problem by implementing age-friendly city. So we really have to think about long-term care issues. And meaningful caregiver support. It's very important because family members are looking after their own caretakers, and the care recipients are their parents, but you might be 75 years old. It's just like a lot of older people are looking after older parents. And this is what I wanted to add, is a society that understands the positive aspect of aging. And so I think everybody is talking about, I think all the speakers mentioned about WHO age-friendly city themes. So they are flower petal of this. Basically, it is showing that it is not about physical infrastructure to change or social infrastructure to change. Those has to actually fit together. So some key lessons that I've learned from reviewing the literature. There are two sort of lessons, two categories. One is local, the other one is policy. First, a local key lesson, move from just being friendly to be truly inclusive to all people. Because I think we still have an attitude that we do things for them, we do service for other people. And we think about better ideas in the service for them. But we are not really including them as a part of collaborators to decide together. Think beyond family and relatives. Because, world is changing, especially urban area. You are very lucky if you have family members when you get older around you and the bigger cities. We have, I don't actually have children. And what are you going to do? We don't have a lot of traditional family members, like family structures. We don't have that structures. Yet policies are based on those traditional family structures. That also have to change. And the close proximity to services is very important. It is like a compact city. So how we could create it. When you think about the size of the city, actually, that gives me a question. Like Singapore, if we were to say, okay, we are applying for age-friendly city or like resilient city, to that many people, the city is so large. Do we really see that city as one unit? Or we should really think about dividing into 100 different units, has walking distance services. Those are the questions we really have to start to think about. And shared community and interest between generations. Because I think multi-generational activity is the only thing that it sustains. And older residents can act as a reference point for stability and continuity. I found this finding very interesting. A lot of time older people stay back in their own town because everybody else leaves, or they normally like to stay in the same house. When you're living in the city, a lot of people will come in and out. So you don't really have a reference point, actually. And just you don't understand the identity of the city, or where to talk to, where to go to, who to talk to, and what was happening 50 years ago. Older people actually provide a lot of stability to people's life if we were to actually engineer in the right way. Make sure older people continue to play an active role in the community. I think we all talk about this, and the initiative, I'm not going to be talking about this today, but the Ibasho that I created to start doing this, that was just try to create active role for older people. So again, we should really rethink about attitude of we allow older people to do this. We provide older people to do that. Are we doing this for the older people? Because we are creating dependency. And we have to also think about how we can empower older people to have their own active role. And the policy key lesson mainly occurred in the developed world. So if you are in the lower income countries, or rather low, like in the US, it's the same. It is a relatively wealthy country, but some cities can't afford it, because some cities are lower income than others. But it seems like age-friendly city initiative is only happening in the relatively wealthy part of the world. And multi-stakeholder collaboration should be encouraged, and I think everybody talk about this. And urban regeneration and gentrification actually go against to age-friendly cities, because a lot of older people, I'm not quite sure about the Singapore situations, but older people has their own estates. Those are normally smaller. And then all this young professional with higher income will come, and they just try to change the neighborhood, which is a great thing to have value goes up. But older people can't afford tax, or they have to move it out. And in the US, that problem is more like race related. So a lot of African American community has been disappeared. And people said it is nicer and less crime, but the reality is they have to, like a lot of older people has to move out. And developing city for all ages, other variation in the context of the rise of mega city, hyper cities, and slum cities. I think, again, age-friendly city does work in the developed part of the world, like Seoul, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, it will work. But what about mega cities of like 20 million people? How are we going to really make sense out of that? It's something for us to really think about it. So the design impact, I would like you to think about this. Protecting elders, that's how we design. But at the same time, it can create dependency for older people. Provide special service for elders may create ageism. Specially designed service in built environment may create stigma like nursing homes. Age-specific design may create segregations. Excessive convenience and technologies may create social isolations. So sometimes we just try to strive to design in one way to accommodate the needs of elders. We also have to be very careful where to draw the line and how to, implement it in the right way. So it is not going to go the other side of spectrum, which is not going to be positive. So this is a very last question. I would like to leave this for you to think about. So age friendliness for whom? Are we doing this for whom? Why are we doing this? Are we doing this for the city, or are we doing this for the people? Elders view as a burden or benefit if you do age-friendly cities. Age friendliness by or for older people. Does age friendliness create more stigma or ageism? Should the target be the elders overall or frail elders in particular? Should intervention aim to change people or places? So this is the guideline of dementia inclusive city. This is not highly developed, but this is one example in the States. And I wanted to show you this because the majority of people with dementia are living and will be living most of their life in their home. And I think statistic-wise, I think it's 60%, 65%, 68% of people, elders, actually living in the house, in their own home, but those people are completely ignored from age friendliness and other services just because we don't know what to do. But it doesn't mean that we can ignore it, actually. So I would like to leave the last, this quote at the last way of thinking. So Mother Teresa, when she came to Japan, she was asked by a press person, so how do you think about Japan? And she said, Japan is a very wealthy country, but there are lots of poverty happening here. And then she said, being unwanted, unloved, uncared for, forgotten by everybody, I think that is a much greater hunger, a much greater poverty than the person who has nothing to eat. And I think it's something to think about that. Sometimes we make older people invisible, and we feel like we can actually look after them, as if it's not your problem. But aging is our own problem. We are gonna all get there. And I would like to be able to just leave some of the questions and this quote for you to think about and discuss about age-friendly cities. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the CLC for giving me this opportunity of 5 minutes to speak with you and giving you an overview of the aging landscape in Singapore. Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to see this room full. And so therefore, I believe we will have a very interesting and hopefully conversation dialogue. Let me start by giving you a quick overview. So we've heard about the changing demographics. Singapore is aging fast, and this set of slides can show you that the number of youth that is aged 15 is now equal to the number of older persons aged 65. And in the years to come, as soon as 2030, 1 in 4 of us will be aged 65, while the number of youth is only about 10%. Singapore is known for its long-term planning, and as early as 1982, various ministerial committees on aging have been established to study the issue and the implication of population aging. And if we look at the focus of these interministerial committees, we notice that the focus and consideration is not just on the hardware, the infrastructure, but it is also on the software, the programming, and most importantly, on the hardware, the social integration of older people. We've heard just now about the key principle of aging in place that underpins our land and housing policy. And this has led to 2 key strategies. One is the provision of elder-friendly housing, and secondly, a barrier-free city. So let me very quickly go through some of these various strategies and measures to actualize aging in place in Singapore. In terms of the built environment, there have been introduction of various senior-friendly facilities and features by way of universal design, barrier-free neighborhoods. And within the flats, within the public housing or the housing provision, we have retrofitting of the large stock of existing flats through programs such as EASE, Enhancement for Active Seniors, that have been rolled out by the Public Housing Authority, which accommodates and house over 80% of Singapore's resident population. Customized design of new flats have also been provided, and these range, as you can see, from 2-room flexi flat, from 3-generation flats, from granny flats, to the latest, which is Kampong Admiralty. We've heard of how Kampong Admiralty integrates senior apartments with childcare, with social, with health initiatives, has a one-stop living arrangement for the older people as well as the rest of the community, because we know that the older people do not like to live alone. And I believe WCS has a technical site visit to Kampong Admiralty, so this is quite worth visiting if you have not already been. And in recent years, sorry, I didn't miss one slide. In recent years, the private sector has also started to provide housing for older people. And we have heard about the action plan for successful aging, which was renewed in 2016. The government released this blueprint with a budget of 3 billion Singapore dollars. And this is built on discussion with older people. And the action plan presents a whole of government approach to build a nation for all ages, activating public, private, and people joined up actions to develop an age-friendly city. And there has been various proposals, strategies cutting across various areas from health, employment, education, voluntarism, built environment, retirement adequacy, and importantly, the inclusion of research and development. And this gives you an overview of the aging research landscape in Singapore, and you can see very quickly in response to the emphasis on aging, many research centers, many research programs have been established over the last 5 or more years to look at the issue of population aging, covering issues such as economics of aging, the adequacy of retirement funding. And at the Lee Kuan Yew Center for Innovative Cities out at the Singapore University of Technology and Design, where I am located, we have established the Lee Lee Min program in aging urbanism. And our interest is to look at population aging and the built environment, how the built environment influences, impacts on individuals' health and well-being and quality of life. And one of the projects that we are currently working on is the planning and design of age-friendly neighborhoods in Singapore, and this seeks to investigate, to understand, to better understand the connection between the built environment and individual health in 3 key areas: physical health, cognitive health, and social health. This is a project that is funded by the National Research Foundation under the L2 NIC, National Land and Livability, National Innovation Challenge, and the Ministry of National Development. And it is based on the triple helix model involving the research community, us at the university, people in the hospital, the medical field, as well as design practitioners. I believe several of my collaborators, our colleagues are in this room. So we have design firms, we have public agencies, as well as the research community working together collaboratively to understand and find solutions to how we can better plan our neighborhoods as we age to support aging. So this is my last slide. Thank you. And I like to say that if you want to read much more about our research, you can pick up a copy of the URA Skyline publication, which is being handed out. I was handed out one of these, and there is an article in here on our research project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yuan, for that sharing as well. And Dr. Yuan is part of our panel for today, and I'd like to also take the chance to introduce Dr. Mire Pion, who is one of the most experienced demographers in the Seoul Institute, whose research areas lie in social change and urban monitoring for enhancing the quality of lives of citizens. Her work focuses on international comparative studies on government policy for urban competitiveness. And we have Mayor Chu here on the panel and Dr. Emmy Kiyota as our moderator. So I shall now hand the time over to Dr. Emmy Kiyota. Emmy, please.
5 minutes. Thank you for your kind introduction, and thank you for all the presentation. So helpful to understand the condition of Asian cities, challenging the aging issues. According to the UN World Population Projection, by 2040, an extraordinary condition will materialize in Asia, and society will reach a new demographic reality. And never experienced people in the human history, and Japan is the first society, and in which adult aged 60 older will comprise the 40% of a total population. And China will not be far behind at 25% and grow fast. And Seoul and Singapore, in the presentation, we know that is the similar condition by 2040. And these situations will create a crisis in social welfare policy, and we're not making, and as Yota said, that we continue to create a totally new policy, social policy. But as we know that, we all stress on the aging-friendly cities, but we all know that this kind of transition, social policy transition, is not easy to adapt in our society. So, in this panel discussion, I want to focus on the Seoul's condition based on the 3 points. First is the changes of demographic structures, and second is the poverty and loneliness of seniors in Seoul, and the final point is the generation gap toward or relating to elderly or seniors policy. Okay, let me talk about the first point. As Dr. Lee presented before, and Seoul's present aging rate is 14. And within 20 years, 2 decades, Seoul will experience a kind of a demographic cliff. For example, the size of population under 30s will be cut in half by 2040. And in 1990, the population of under 30s make up 57% of the total population. But by 2040, the rate is just 24%. And on the contrary, the senior will be reached to almost 24%. 30 years ago, the death rate is just below 5%, below 5%. It's amazing changes. And this change in demographic structure, the structural changes is very important point, will affect all areas of society, in our society. So the second issue is poverty and loneliness of seniors in Seoul. Koreans' elderly poverty rate reaches 46%. It's the, as Dr. Lee mentioned, and is the highest level of, among OECD cities. And the financial problem is the most important factors affecting the quality of life of seniors. In Seoul, after retiring their jobs, seniors have to work till 70s and late 70s for saving. And so the quality of life of seniors is the lowest among ages. According to the World Happiness Report, the happiness score by ages shows typically U-shape. For example, the early ages they are happier, but in the mid ages, 40s and 50s, identify is a desperate ages. The lowest desperate age is 44 years. But in the later period of the lifetime, people start to feel happier than ever before. That's a U-shaped pattern. It's a global pattern. But in Seoul, it's totally different. There's no evidence of U-shape and happiness score. In Seoul, the happiness scores start to decline in their 40s. and it declined even more rapidly in the 50s and 60s. And as in the presentation, Dr. Lee said, we are rapidly aging and how to deal with these problems. And so, Park Won-soon administration just start to his third term and this July. And the most important policy for seniors focus on the job project for seniors and elimination the solitude deaths and loneliness, sickness, and unemployment are the major issues of solitude deaths. So Seoul's senior policy aim to enhance the quality of life seniors. Okay, final issue of aging is I want to focus on this generation gap toward the senior policy. On this issue, I want to tell you about the value changes in our society. Seoul, as an Asian city, traditionally we respect seniors, and caring seniors is regarded as our duty. But Seoul has experienced the rapid growth and speed urbanization, and as a result of that, kind of urbanization, unified urbanization, and kind of rapid growth caused the disappearance of social values and increasing social conflict. According to our social survey, we monitored people's value changes by annual basis. We call the social survey, Seoul survey, and we monitored the value changes of people in Seoul. Last year, we questioned like that. Are you willing to pay higher taxes to expand the social welfare programs for seniors? The answer is 5 out of 10. The average score is relatively low. By the way, the 20s and 30s is the lowest score. Even more, the 30s score is just 4. So younger generation do not think it's their duty to care for elderly. As we all know that aging society is reaching a rapid speed in Seoul, and we stand in starting point. And there are not unique service policy for seniors, not yet, and we should develop the elderly policy from now on. And within my understanding, the most important factors concerning the elderly policy is a consensus. Between generation, and the conflict, generation conflict will be increasing. And so first building the public sphere, and we start to discuss. That's the point. Thank you.
So I would like to actually ask you a question before I open up to the participants. So when when we have a discussion like this, normally people will ask questions like, "Can you please tell us the best practice?" I actually would like to challenge all of you, knowing what you learned about the aging policy so far. Are there anything that you recommend never to do, to replicate, or some of the policies or some programs that didn't work out, if there are any?
Okay.
You are the policy maker.
Yeah. As the mayor, I think it's my obligation to respond to you. The first, what's the policy I cannot do? Today, we have 4 panelists on the stage. I'm the only male. That's a problem for aging. In our city, I don't know whether the same problem in Singapore, or Tokyo, or Seoul, or United States. For example, we have a social university for elders, which means you try to get all the seniors to participate in those university or those courses. Only 10% are male, 90% are female. I don't know whether the same thing happened in your country, but it's quite difficult to persuade those senior male to come out to join us, to be students again, to join us, to be a participant again. That's one key problem. Second one, the same thing, as a volunteer. You see, in my country, I mentioned to you, 120,000 in my city, volunteers. At the beginning, only 10% male, 90% female. I try everything I have done. After 8 years, now it's about 25%, 1/4, to the other 75%. I don't know. I told many mayors, all face the same challenge. So all the study regarding to you said it's a aging generational gap, but you forgot something. It may be those professionals, those professors, you should tell me how to persuade those male seniors come out to learn, come out to eat together, come out to help contribute to the society again. We always use the terms that maybe those female, they are mother in the house, in the home, so it's easy for them to come out and make a connection. But for the male, because they are somebody before, now became nobody, then to be isolated, home alone. Okay.
I think I just want to pick up on this very acute, astute observation of the mayor on men participation in community activities, older men participation in older communities, because we too observed that seeming phenomenon in some of our sort of outreach, yeah? And we noticed that many more women come forth to participate than men, older men. However, there was one community place that I visited, that our team visited, and we noticed that there was an overwhelming number of older men. And so we asked the center director, what is it that draw these men out? And she laughingly said, convene activities that are suitable for the men participants so that they feel at ease. And straight away she showed us there was a pool table. And so that pool table attracted a lot of male participants. In fact, they all come and to play a game of snooker or pool, etc. But and then they also convened, I think, calligraphy and so on and so forth. So this is where I like to invite the audience, because I see many men in our midst, and I'm very heartened by your participation in here. No. But what is it? Because I think you talk about, future time banking. So what is it that would attract you into the community when you are 64, or when you are 74, or when you are 85? What is it that would attract you? Because it is through your views that we will then know what it is that we should plan and how it is that we should design our spaces, our programming, and so forth. So I really would love to hear from the men in the audience. There are microphones in the aisles. So please share with us your view.
I have no special opinion on that, but in Seoul's case, there's a policy, for example, is house sublet project, and elderly people own the house, and the elderly people want to sublet some rooms for younger people, but the city government supports some budget for elder people and younger people, but it's a kind of artificially joined together generation together, live together, but the impact is not so good. So it's kind of we don't want that kind of project. Yeah. Okay.
So if I could add, so I have projects in Japan, Philippines, Nepal. Philippines, majority woman. I think it's cultural. Nepal and Japan, actually, majority are men. Because we have women cook and sit around the table, have tea. Men will never do that. But we have a service that they can actually go out and fix people's like little, just windows or, changing a light bulbs for $5 each time. So older men will come to that. So I think it can be gender issues, but I think the men has to find concrete meaning with what they are going to be doing. So I think if they just want to enjoy the conversation, they won't come. But that's our actually experience. So it's just something clear contribution that they feel like I've done this for someone. I'm proud of myself. That's what probably men need more than women.
Yeah, I thank you your comment. I think very help. But I want to mention to you that just like Dr. Yuan, you said this kind of, for example, put some table or even play mahjong together. Okay, it's okay. It's legal. For senior citizens in my city, I said, okay, give you all the incentive to alert the male to come out. But today, after 7 years and about 8 years effort, so it's just increased from 10% to 25% as today, I said. So maybe we still need some more study, more effort to motivate, to motivate those men to come out, to connect to each other, to have those social connection. I think it's quite important. Yes, different society with different problem, but I think maybe the similar problem in Singapore and in Taiwan. Maybe in Seoul, I don't know. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So any comments from the audience? Men, please. The microphone is in the back, if you could stand up.
Even in Admiralty, Kampong Admiralty, it's an old aged center, aged village we just try. You go to the elevator or the escalator, you have to go 3 steps, walk 3 steps. So I think we have to learn from Apple new headquarters. There's no steps throughout the floor. There is no even rail on the floor. I think this is a very simple legal and design issues that you can put into law. On one floor, there's no more steps. I think this can be easily done. The second thing is, I think she brought out a good point. Everything you have meaning, then you can attract people. I think we have to try to find meaning into each work. Playing mahjong may be good, but sometimes you ended up quarrels. Trying to find something that the old can teach the young handicraft, for example, sawing, carpentry, connecting wires, I think that will bring men to do it. I'm working on some of this work. Maybe I can share with you in details later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very motivation presentation. Thanks for Dr. Yin. You basically stimulated my mind. I say I must speak up. I got one comment and one question. I'm Mr. Kwek. I'm basically from marine industry. Comment is the focus group with government or whoever's policymaker who's trying to solicit feedback. It must not forget where is the meal normally congregate. Example, I'm quite sure the audience in this room will agree with me. Where do you find all the meal at the senior citizen? over the last 10 years. It's a tremendous increase. I hope there's a study done. Go to coffee shop, the beer bottle down there. It's a very interesting phenomenon, which I noticed that in Taiwan as well, Kaohsiung. And I feel that everybody know that. Whether you have a beer ladies down there, that put it aside. My point is, there are certain behavior is maybe the collective memory that bring everybody together there. And I feel that there's many more can be done. The question what I want to put forward is, compare the 3 cities or 4 cities down here we're talking about, basically there's only one language besides Singapore. Singapore is a multiracial, multi-religion culture, and very different from Taiwan, Seoul, and Japan. And in this aspect, I'd like to hear what is the other 3 panelists besides Singapore have to comment or maybe have to share about it. Thank you.
I appreciate your question. I think Singapore is a very, very good role model for a lot of countries, a lot of cities, because of your development, your multicultural society. You can live together like a livable city, like a community. Thank you.
As you mentioned, Singapore is a very multicultural city, and Seoul is kind of a less multicultural city, but recently foreigners' immigration rate is increasing, but our society is not fully prepared for that. In our sense, we should learn from the Singapore's variety, and in our society, now we should prepare for the multicultural society. Yeah.
I think I will have a similar opinion about this because I think if it's a homogeneous society, it's easier to implement a policy like this. But at the same time, immigration is going to change the situation of all of our country. And also, it's not only the racial inequality we're talking about, that really expand to like inclusiveness of disabilities and women and other things. So I think we have a lot to learn from Singapore. Other questions? I would like to open up to the audience.
I can use this? Yes. Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Mayor, your comment about when you started off, you were looking at the youngs, right? The teenager, the young adults, their work, their study, their employment, so on. And now you're looking at another stage of the human cycle. It gets me thinking about maybe the elephant in the room is that we should not be too focused on age, which are real problems with, AGED, yeah? Or even aging. Because we're still very much framed by this thing towards that terminus. For me, maybe we should broaden our mind, as a researcher in the room should broaden the mind into researching into this thing called growing and development city. You are still growing, maybe growing older, but hopefully we can find ways, to grow older slower, right? Through medical sciences, neurosciences, researchers, biological research, DNA, mitochondria, so forth, telomere, AI, VR, AR. I think a combination of this new technology may bring new frontiers for the future senior citizen, rather than the senior citizen you are staring at, that you're looking at, say, 10, 20 years from now. I don't know. I believe in the brave new future. Any comments from the panelists, please? Thank you.
It's a great comment. I think for the future generation, for seniors, like us, we will have different kind of issues. But as a mayor, I have to solve today's issues and, of course, to forecast what happened in the future. We have to create a platform, especially those volunteers, those private sectors, including you mentioned about a lot of companies today joined us to solve the problem through the high tech, through the AI, through the VI, through a lot of robots. Even in our senior care center, today, A lot of high-tech company donate some robots, try to communicate with seniors, and try to experiment this one whether it's workable in the future. I think it's just like the starting stage. Maybe someday, you know, we were through some visual to connect to each other. We don't have to, you know, play together or eat together. We can through this visible frame or some not TV, and I think no TV, and we can connect to each other. Thank you.
I think that is a very provocative question. I don't have an answer. But however, it's told me on to think about what is the meaning of life after age 85. Because we know the aging trend. With the aging trend, more of us will have the benefit, not the burden, of living to 85 and even beyond. So what happens after age 85? What's the meaning of life? What needs to be changed? What needs changing in order for us to bring up the quality of life of those of us who are living beyond 85, to make life after 85 fun? What is it that we need to change? I'd like to hear your responses.
I don't exactly the correct answer, but within my understanding, Seoul is very IT advanced city, and even the 50s and early 60s are excellent to deal with the IT technology. And so via internet, there are many groups and kind of silver groups, and they connect each other. So this is the kind of good part of IT technology. But as Man said that, after first, nowadays we discuss about the first revolution and first industrial revolution, and according to the AI and AI, what is the future of AI? Sure, in partly AI support the healthcare and senior caring system, but the others, no one knows, and we challenging that situation. Thank you.
I'd like to make a very short comment, just to answer two things. First, answer was for my comment about the accessible, no steps. I think it's very must, but at the same time, if you make everything accessible and no steps, that is going to actually negatively affect people who want to maintain their health. So I think it's important always to keep that in mind for us, to provide options for people, you know, because I think to maintain our physical health, we need to challenge. So I think that's important to do that. And I also like to make a comment about technology. I'm coming from, I was at the conference about technology in Tokyo, and we had this discussion. And my comment is that technology is like, you know, VR and everything is great, AI, technology, but it shouldn't be objective. The objective is to create meaningful relationship that people can have. And the technology will be a beautiful tool to make that happen. But the minute just that try to replace the meaningful relationship with the robot, then the conversation will change.
Hi, my name is Carol. I come from Hong Kong, and I also have been doing age-friendly project in Hong Kong for a long time. And I want to talk about, when we talk about aging, we shouldn't just look at aged people, but somehow we also think about our young people and how we can actually encourage our young people to care for our elderly. This is actually the questions that I want to ask, because according to some of the social service, you know, a lot of survey mention about young people nowadays, if they want to do social service, they would like to choose to serve the animal. They like to walk with a dog rather than to go to the elderly center, because they don't want to communicate with a human. So somehow, this is actually, I see that will be a major worries for us. So we have to think about how we can encourage our young people to think about how we can care for our elderly. And then also the future of elder care. Are we just relying on technology? So what else that we need to think about for the future of elder care? Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yes, we do need the younger generation, especially those college students, or maybe some high school students join us as a volunteer. So there is a big program in my city to attract those younger generation, those students to join us, even to take care of those senior citizens. Those students think they can have account in the time sharing, in the time banking. So someday their parents can get the service, or their grandparents will get the service. So I mentioned to you the senior citizen join the program time banking is 2,500, 2,500. And I can tell you that 10 times of the volunteers, 25,000 students joined us, the younger generation. I think that through the program, they learn something. They learn they should contribute to the society. They should help the senior citizens. And and someday their parents, their grandparents will get the same service. Or they themselves, someday they will get the same kind of service. Thank you.
Thank you. I totally agree with you that we need challenges. But the question is not to put the step on everyday, passages that handicapped wheelchair may have to go through. We can put challenges by the side. People can do exercise, chin up, push up, by the side. Easy, convenient, but not as the main obstacle for handicaps and aged. Second, challenges. We have to give challenges to old people. I cite a personal experience. A retired person said that he wants to set war as a crime. But I tell him to look at the greater picture. So I sent him a calligraphy son. Few years later, he became a prime minister again at age 93. You give him challenges, then he'll keep on thinking, and do something practical. If his mind has nothing, then he'll have all these things. You check Mr. Lee Kuan Yew's memoir or his interview. He asked him why he did not retire. He said, if I retire, I have nothing to do, I will turn Senao very fast. Give them something to think. Mahjong is one of them, but there are many more constructive things. I thank you.
I think we can take one more question.
Hello, thank you very much for all your sharing today. My question is, in relation to the general movement in most public services in general to move towards like e-governance, providing services for citizens through mobile platforms. For example, like Singapore just released a Moments of Life app, for example. So if we are moving towards that, how can you ensure that our elder citizens, who may not be as tech-savvy as the rest of the population, how do you ensure that they can keep up with the rest of the population? Thank you.
Your question is the government is moved to the e-government, how the elderly adapt their situation, that's the point. And IT technology developed more user-friendly. In Seoul's case, and 10 years ago, the e-government system is just working on the internet, but recently kind of a smartphone used in smartphone m-government use m-government established, and so elderly people use so easily. And so the answer is the technology improved and other people use without difficulty. Yeah.
I can answer to you very quickly. The e-government is not only means as a user use any internet or smartphone to get the service. In my city, e-government means this senior citizen can go to any office to get all the service. It's not necessary like before, you have to get one kind of service to one office or one district or one specified designated office. Because e-government, every governmental official can provide all the service to you if you need face-to-face. Okay, thank you.
And I think, you know, the barrier of IT or digitization is not limited only to older adults. Even the younger amongst us could be in a similar situation. They may not be IT savvy. So it is about, you know, having the accessibility of services through various platforms, including digital platform, and also about awareness. It could be because I don't have the information, it may be a very simple process, but because I do not know, and therefore it becomes a huge barrier to me. So it could be through public education, through awareness, through individual coaching and nudging. So we need to find out what are the pain points, what is the barrier or the challenge, and see what is the best way to address that.
So, well, thank you so much for the wonderful, comments as a panel. But I would like to actually give you opportunity if you want to say something, final thoughts. I would like to give you opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your insights and experiences with us. And I hope this will inspire us to build more age-friendly cities, have a better picture of how age-friendly cities can be defined and for who.